Good evening. I'm Charmaine Seavey. I'm the Economic Development Committee Chair, and I'm calling this meeting to order. And first, we're going to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first, we're going to do the Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight, and I'm going to have our liaison, Ray Langan, introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Charmaine. Jen Berry is with us tonight, and she holds a couple of hats in town here: Suburban Living and Valley Entrepreneurs. I think it's pronunciation correct. I think Jen's a real powerhouse of activity here in town. It's kind of one of those situations where you don't always know about all that's going on, but you start reading about. She's going to do a brief presentation for us as well. I think you'll be impressed. I think you'll be glad that she's part of our community. As I said, she wears many hats. She's also a full-time executive of Obsidian. She's done a great SCTV interview with us, talking about empowering women and giving leadership opportunities to women in our community and to young girls who are in difficult situations. So overall, I'm thrilled that Jen could be with us tonight, and we welcome you.
All right.
Let us know all about it.
All right, I will get right into it. I think I have 10 minutes, so I can go through some of this content. I have 5 copies left behind, but obviously if you want to email out the deck afterwards, I also have store coupons here. So Ray sort of said a lot of this already. So I spent most of my career between the Hartford and Cigna. I currently lead our third-party supplier risk, as well as our leadership development programs. I'm the creator and founder of our Women in Leadership program, and I mentor and coach a lot of people, both men and women, and there's no bias there. And then I just completed my 3-year term for the Greater Hartford Girls on the Run. That was an exhausting role, so I'm glad to take a little bit of a break from that board position. And then the founder of Suburban Living and Valley Entrepreneurs, which we'll dig into here in a minute. So just quick poll out of curiosity, hands raised. Have you heard of Suburban Living? Okay, that's good. Do you know where it's located? Okay. Any ideas how long we've been in business?
3 years-ish.
2, almost 2. And I guess, have you shopped there if you've been there? Sure. And then I'll skip the what do we sell. I'll get into that in a little bit. How about anybody that knows anything about Valley Entrepreneurs? All right, a couple. Good. All right. So about us, starting with Suburban Living. So I'm located over on Jim Gallagher Way, which is a plaza where Redstone Pub is. Opened October 2023. I am open just on the weekend through volunteers. Otherwise, I'm doing 7 days a week, and that gets to be a lot. So the original mission was really to give women a space to sell retail products, right? I had gone to many different craft fairs with some of my friends, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of work. Carry all your stuff in, pay $100 vendor fee, and you may or may not make any money. And so I started thinking about crowdsourcing from a rent perspective and thinking it is very expensive to have a business here from a retail space. So if we got a lot of people together, would we be able to source that? And the day I thought of this idea, it happened to be the same day the craft fair was happening downtown. I started talking to some women. 22 people said, here's my business card. I opened 30 days later. Now have, which is stealing the thunder from the same page, but we're up to 68 vendors right now. Really trying to bring locally made products to the community, but very specifically those that are chemical free, vegan, etc. I am a gift shop, but I also have daily use products. I have pet products, children's. We have a whole section of women authors. So it's more than just the traditional gift shop. I did rebrand the Give Back Gift Shop because we want to be able to give back to the community through fundraisers and such, which I also will talk about in a minute. And then really trying to mentor and coach the entrepreneurs, so the women entrepreneur community. Never owned a business before. So when I started, I had a lot of questions. They had a lot of questions. And so I thought we probably should get a group of people together. So I brought in folks to do financial planning, Instagram reel posting, marketing, advertising. We've had a lot of really success in bringing those speakers in. And then the idea of really trying to promote collaboration over competition. I talk about this at every single meeting. I'm like, there's 4 realtors, figure out what's working for each other, but we don't need to be in competition. We have a lot of that as it is. So that's sort of our theme there. And so Valley Entrepreneurs launched in December of 2023. Just to give some of the demographic information. So of the 68 vendors, 64 of them are female, 4 are male. 37 are in Simsbury, 11 in Granby. So that's 3/4 of it are from the existing Farmington Valley, including Avon and Canton. We have some West Hartford, Litchfield County, Bloomfield, 3 come from Massachusetts, but otherwise relatively local footprint. Valley Entrepreneurs, we have 459 active members. It's probably not unique. Some people might have been registered as their business and as their personal self, but that's still pretty significant given that's just about a year and a half from that. If you saw the Talcott Mountain Music Festival, you saw that we were able to become the fireworks sponsor. Jen Lopez, as you guys are familiar with, really helped us with that. So that was a huge achievement. On average, I host these monthly networking meetings. Again, we poll the group to say what really business challenges are they faced with, and we bring in guest speakers to help them with that. So about 15 to 20 people that attend those each month. On the financial data, so I say I'm not for profit, but I'm also not a nonprofit. So that does pose some challenges when I'm trying to get funding and other stuff. I do not have the mental capacity or space to try to go down a full nonprofit. I do have a corporate job that can, help me to a certain extent. So I'm not worried about making an income on it. But the vendor's fees is 35% of that needs to pay for all of the operating expenses, marketing, etc. Community givebacks, we're committed to giving 10% back to local fundraisers. I'll talk about those specifically in a minute. In addition to that, volunteers earn 10% commissions on shifts that they work. So that gives them a little bit of extra income. And then if they happen to have products in the store, not all of our volunteers do, they earn 5% back. So if it was 35%, they would earn 40%, et cetera, for every 4-hour shift that they work. But very grateful that I have them to help me. So community recipients, so far about $9,000. Half of that is about what we did with the Hartford Symphony, which we can't as a store take credit for, but I wanted to just put that out there. So you can see a lot of work across Simsbury and the various dollar amounts that we've done. So some of them have been 10% give back, some have gone up to 15. In addition, as folks come into the store, or as these folks, push out to their members and such about coming in, there's the ability to give a donation at the register. So every time, like on my register, it says all tips are 100% charitable donation. So we don't take the tips, but we donate them. We've even done fun things like Dog Star Rescue. We had 6 dogs adopted. We had a huge dog adoption fair. So it's not any one specific, it's folks that need help. We've had a person that came in and talked about it, our teacher in Granby who pays for all of her art materials for her calligraphy camps that she offers for free. So we ran a fundraiser for her, etc. We are working with Granby Unico right now. This coming up Sunday is an Italian bake sale, so mark your calendars for that. Okay, challenges. This is where we get to the meat of the. I said 9 out of 10 people never heard of us. I have 500 plus emails that I collected over the last 4 weeks at Hartford Symphony. Met a lot of people even over above that, and I say 9 out of 10 people have never heard that we were here, even if they're from town. That's hard. That's a hard one to swallow. Misconception. A lot of people say, I don't need a gift, therefore I'm not going into a gift shop. So trying to get the word out that we're more than just a gift shop. It's also really challenging when you've got Amazon. I mean, let's face it, people can get stuff delivered to their house pretty easily. What I'm learning really quickly, social media is not enough to drive attention. We have 1.4 thousand followers on Facebook. And still everyone's like, oh, you should advertise on Facebook. So that gets frustrating. It's also very time consuming because there's a lot of stipulations with business promoting on Facebook. I can only do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which means I have to do it before I go to work. And it's a lot of work. The town has signed stipulations, as you all are aware, from a zoning perspective. I will say when I put them out, I get business. People come up and say, oh, I was walking by, I saw your sign. And so that does draw whether I'm supposed to do it or not. It does draw a lot of business. We are at least located. We have the main street and we've got the walking path right behind us. So I stick a sign, I have free water on the walking path. People come in for it. So trying to do whatever we can take to bring in work there. And local print media is really expensive to get in things like the Valley Book. If you did the math on my page about the how the money divvies up, there's not a lot left over for spending on those cases. Local competition. I put this in there because some businesses, as much as want to cross promote, don't want to. Very specifically, the Historical Society pulled all of my marketing materials saying I'm a competition, which is unfortunate because I send business to them all the time. So that's, it is what it is, but that is definitely one of my challenges. And then some grants. We had the Lieutenant Governor came in and talked all about with the Women's Business Development Council grants. I'm too old or too young, I don't qualify. And I find in a lot of cases, I can't use it for what I want, which is really my operating expenses, because that's the most of where I'm spending money right now. And I personally don't want to take on debt. I opened the business with $5,000 and I don't want to take a loan. I could, but I'm choosing not to. That's on me. But that's the reality. Okay, opportunities, just to wrap it up. So what's really working is exposure through the fundraising, right? Again, it's like the idea of crowdsourcing. If I can find, thank you. If I can find a particular, like ABC House was a great one. They have a huge network, right? So that was able to promote my store and also raise money for them. Really high repeat customers, foot traffic again, when I'm leveraging those A-frames. The marketing to the chamber newsletters has been really helpful, especially with Valley entrepreneurs. I do get a lot of people that show up at the meeting saying, I saw the meeting through there, especially people who are new to the community that have moved into town are using the chamber events for sure. Same through the Main Street Marketplace calendar and all the networking, being on the television with Lisa, et cetera, has definitely helped, and the opportunity to be here. Wrapping up with like, what could be helpful? We talked about this, we've talked about this a little bit too, some sort of Simsbury tourism map. Like I was at the Simsbury Inn recently and they have that whole area when you walk in with all the things to do, but there's not anything about shopping Simsbury. Signage on Iron Horse, like if there's the ability to like, there's like, oh, you know, parking over here, town parking over here, but what if it was as you're walking down, you're seeing this business is up here, go to the coffee spot here, visit historical society, something on Iron Horse that's going to drive the traffic up more towards Main Street. I've given the feedback to Main Street partners, the linkage to the businesses pages. There is no link to the business page. So if you go to Gifts and Flowers, it's going to list businesses by name. Suburban Living doesn't stand out. Like, what is Suburban Living? They're not willing to hyphenate to say the Give Back Gift Shop, because then they'd have to do that for everybody, but they're also not clickable. It's very easy to just make it linkable to our businesses, and it is something they said they were going to work on.
We are, just so you know, there's a
Yes.
form you have to fill out because the restaurants and everyone are linkable. It depends on whether each individual business has filled out our entire form.
Okay, so I'll do that. I hadn't heard that. Thank you. The chamber, I was just saying to Ray, so Facebook, you know, Simsbury neighbors and things like that have events calendars. You have to be a person, not a business, to post them. But Simsbury, the chamber has a Facebook page. So Ray and I talked about being able to leverage that calendar. The newsletter is fantastic, but I think adding those to the Facebook events calendar would be helpful. And everywhere possible, whenever you share or do Google reviews, it just continues to help grow the small businesses across town. So if anything else, doing that, if you see a post, share it. It takes 2 seconds, but it goes a long way. And then an opportunity to try to look for grant money. And an example of that is I'm hosting a vendor market at Rosedale's October 18th for the benefit of Simsbury Social Services. So looking for even local business to help offset the cost of what it's costing me to host the event there, because it takes away from my ability to give more profit to Simsbury Social Services. It's the first time that I'm hosting something somewhere where I'm having to pay for it. Most often it's been given for free because it's been a benefit to them, but Rosedale's is looking for money for them too. So significantly discounted compared to what they do for weddings and such, but is still a pretty significant cost for our business. And that's it. I put my contact information in here, open up to Q&A. And again, these are the ways to reach out to me if you have additional questions, comments, feedback, etc.
Do you write your own grants?
What's that?
Do you write your own grant or do you have someone help?
No, I do everything myself.
And I think in that case, you're talking more about sponsorship versus grants, right?
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
looking for business sponsors.
For
For
the
the social
Rosedale's
services
one,
event.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one specifically,
Yeah.
yeah.
The 18th is also the day of our.
I know, so I want to like market that though. It's like, come to Simsbury, ours starts earlier.
Okay.
And while you're in town, like do both things while you're in town, right? I do spend a lot of time, like come visit the store and have lunch at Coffee Spot or go to Antonia's or whatever that looks like. I'm usually doubling up on what I'm posting to drive more business, and we could all be doing similar things in our posts.
I was very impressed with what you're giving back to the community. I hadn't
Thank you.
seen those numbers before.
Yeah.
That's for only 1 or 2 years in, which is really,
Yeah,
you're already making quite a benefit.
and that's mostly since I rebranded, which was like November. Yeah, thank you.
Jen, can you tell us more about the dog rescue thing? I saw that on the list.
Yeah,
Like,
Dog
what-
Star-
What was that exactly? It sounds like it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And also I didn't realize this. I thought the dogs were gonna come in crates. I don't know why I thought that, so Redstone's been a great collaborator too, and so I was like, can we put all the dogs under the tent in case it rains? But that, they're all fostered, so everyone came on leashes. So next thing you know, I have like 30 dogs in the parking lot, so we had to like section off the parking
I was
lot.
wondering how you did that.
Yeah, all on a whim, you have to be flexible. Yeah, so we had 6 dogs get adopted there, because you could pre-register, get qualified, et cetera. So it was really fun, they rang bells and the dogs got to walk off, and then 2 more, I think, were adopted afterwards, because applications were in process. We raised money in the store, it was the first time we didn't do like a 10% give back, we just allowed for donations at the register. We had people dropping off dog food supplies, et cetera, so we're able to raise enough money to buy one of their like industry cot beds for the dogs for their actual facility. So that was really our actual donation, besides helping to get the dogs adopted, so.
Great
Well,
job.
and it worked because it was in the parking lot and
It
you had
was.
things going around with other people.
Yeah,
Just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Melissa Brett's daughter's just taken over the dog park. She held her first fundraiser.
yeah,
And Dog Star was part of it, but
Yep.
If it's something to try to pool efforts, I
Yep.
think would be great.
yeah. I reached out to her about trying to do a fundraiser, and that was right
It was probably.
before the one they were doing, and so we're like, we'll reconnect.
Yep.
Afterwards, and I've done Terrapin School, I reached out to like every PTO person I could find across all the school system websites, I did have one of them bite, so Terrapin School, which is where my kids went to school and I was on the PTO, so it was sort of like full circle. Be able to raise money for them, but it was, the Henry James person came in, she's like, I had no idea you were even here, and we started talking about it, and now she's like, oh, let me reach out and get you some contact, so it's very grassroots, it's one conversation at a time, really, to try to.
But you have a lot of repeat business, which is.
We have a huge amount of, when people come in, they're like, wow, I had no idea, and then they do come back. They do.
And what are the hours? You said weekends.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 4. There was a period of time where,
Jen, is that all year?
all year,
It is,
yep,
okay.
yep. Right when the spring happened, Jen Lopez had some available time, so she's like, why don't we open 6 days a week? And so we did that, and she was able to be in the store. She can't continue that. Huge increase in traffic being open more, but it's all by volunteers and people work, so. That's harder to do, to get people, and I can't afford to have inconsistency in that, like somebody calling out, I have to be at my job, so. I could handle the Friday and Saturday, Sunday, I work from home on Friday, so worst case, and plus Cigna knows about it and all that, but. Can't be on a Wednesday when I've got board meeting at work and I'm like, sorry. And I think it's important for the customers to have consistency too, so I don't wanna be like, oh, today we're open, tomorrow we're not, which is also why the hours don't fluctuate, like I'm not. Open later one night and earlier one day, I don't wanna
Confuse people.
confuse people, including
Sure.
myself, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think it was very informative, and I think I learned something, and probably everybody else learned something too, so.
I'll be stopping by.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
know.
I will be there, or there will be a
I think
volunteer.
one of the things, Jen, the EDC is trying to do, all of our members, it's really been a thrill over the last year. It's been a reconstituted committee, and our Board of Selectmen has moved quickly to appoint folks and stuff. We got a new chair, vice chair, Charmaine and Matt and others. And really, we're about spreading the word and spreading the message.
Yeah.
So all of us are out there, and I appreciate you
I
coming in and
appreciate it.
letting us know. We can't advertise in our town newsletters per se, but public interest things like dog adoptions and things
Right.
like that. Please reach out to Franklin or I in the town manager's office.
Yeah.
And if we can, under our policy, get it out
Yeah.
on some of our social media, we'd be glad to do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Even it's been good too. The Simsbury Library, when I first
they're
moved
great.
in, did a feature. We did a fundraiser for them a couple months ago, and then she reached out to me. It's Sarah. Yeah, the other day, because they want to host like a business development type of thing, and she wants access to our network. So I was like, join Valley Entrepreneurs, and now post it, and then we can start sharing it that way. So we'll be able to get
Great.
some traction there too. But I left 20% off coupons on the two. So.
And Sue Thomas is one of our liaisons, and she already texted me, was out sick today, so normally she's here
Oh,
on
nice.
Zoom, so she's a part of our EDC
Very
committee
nice.
also.
Yeah.
Before you go, when's the Italian?
Sunday, 10 to 2,
This Sunday?
this Sunday.
Oh,
Rain or shine?
For Granby Unico, it will be rain or shine, so we're still doing the 10% give back, it started last weekend. And then we're gonna end Sunday with an Italian bake sale, so
Where is that?
it's at the store,
At the store.
yeah, so there'll be a tent out front and we'll sell some homemade baked goods, I think like. Is it mazzucata? There's some like Italian, is it mazzucata?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
on Sunday also, because you said Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's the store,
It's a store hours.
it's a bake sale for Granby Unico is.
Oh,
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Right.
So come in and shop and get some big goods.
Jen, I want to touch base, and have partner with Theater Guild, and I can.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because we have a
for
huge
sure.
network, so.
The one thing I learned is not do a fundraiser the week before Christmas, though, because I gave away a lot of money. Simsbury Rugby made out really, really well.
Yeah, anyway, thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Hey, next on the agenda, at our last EDC meeting, we had a discussion and decided we would ask various commissions to come and speak. And we put together, and Heather's already received this, but just for the record, we, and to speak for like 10 minutes. So we put together 2 questions. One was, and this is Heather's responsibility as Historic District Commission and Public Safety Commission, because we know she's also on the Board of Ed, but it's just, she has her hats on for these other 2 commissions. So,
I'm on board. with it.
Select.
Board of
Board of
Select-
Selectmen.
what did I
Yeah.
say?
Ed.
Ed,
Yeah.
Do that too. It's-
Board of Selectmen,
I know.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, misspoke. So these are the questions that we presented and Heather will be speaking on, and we also have 3 other people speaking at the August 20th meeting, and there's people who are going to come from other commissions also. So it's just summer, so Heather was the only one of the commissions we asked to show up, so we're happy. So happy someone showed up. So anyway, so what does economic development mean to you, the context of growth to the town? And can you please share your thoughts on what actions the town might take to better support the existing small businesses and or attract new ones? So I'll give it up to Heather.
Hey, hi, so thank you so much for having me here today. And I know I haven't met everyone here, so my name is Heather Getz. And just for a little background, I've lived in Simsbury for 20 years. And I've had an opportunity to serve in various capacities. I'm here today as Historic District Commission Chair, which is a commission that I've served on for the past 8 years. And in addition, as Public Safety Subcommittee Chair, which is a subcommittee of our Board of Selectmen. And that is something I've been engaged in over these past 2 years. But, you know, when I look at my experiences, you know, they are multifaceted, and I think due to that, it's really shaped how I view economic development. I don't think that economic development is one-dimensional. You know, I think it's dynamic, and it's an interconnecting process, and there are a lot of pieces to fit together for it. So I did kind of put a few bullet points together because I don't want to forget anything that I'd really like to say. But, you know, I think when it comes to economic development, just more as a whole, that we always need to focus to make sure that it's balanced, that there's a strategy, and that we are really looking at the long-term impact. Because every decision we make, it has a ripple effect in our town, and oftentimes it's not immediately visible. So, you know, as a holistic approach, I think to capture the moving parts, you know, we not only need to support our current businesses, but we need them to thrive. And we need to attract new businesses, but they need to be the right businesses. They need to complement and not compete with our current businesses. And they also need to be the right businesses for our town, you know, the community, the needs of the residents. So we need to look at that. I do believe that we need to invest in a walkable, vibrant, cohesive downtown area. You know, listening to Jen speak, I think she kind of hit on it a little bit, but 9 out of 10 residents she feels do not know she's there. And how do we make these businesses known? I hear time and time again that they're not seeing the foot traffic. And I think by making the downtown more cohesive, and it will bring people down. They're getting out of their cars instead of going from plaza to plaza. They're able to walk and, you know, find stores that way, but also looking at signage. So I think that's a key piece of it. And then when we look at economic development, we also have to look at housing, and figure out housing that best supports all of our needs. But that is also nuanced, and I'll talk a little more about that, but. And with all this, we need to preserve our open space, our character, and just all of the things that make Simsbury, Simsbury. And overall with that, we need to look at our grand list growth. You know, at the end of the day, we really need to grow our grand list. And, you know, by doing that, it not only eases taxes and supports our services, but also, you know, by having a lower mill rate and a good brand list, it allows us to attract businesses and residents. So I think those are kind of some key pieces. You know, when it comes to supporting our existing businesses, you know, we need streamlined processes. I think that we need clear and consistent communication. You know, we have so many hardworking people when it comes to economic development. We have all of you here. We have the Main Street, the Chamber, you know, EDC, we have our town staff. And, you know, just really looking at how to make that communication just really clear and understanding, so that we're really understanding all of the pieces of the puzzle, and it makes it clear and consistent with, for instance, a business. What each of you, all of your interactions with a business, I think it needs to be communicated to each other and cohesive, so that we all know what's going on with the business. But also when it comes to zoning and vacancies and how different businesses are doing, I think someone or some group really needs to have a real understanding of what that big picture looks like. You know, it's hard if we have some groups who understand the vacancies and some who understand the development, because it all fits together, and we need to look at all of those pieces together. I think when it comes to attracting new businesses, you know, having a clear and consistent messaging, I think that is helpful, and a streamlined process, but also using data to identify what residents, you know, what are they leaving town to buy? You know, I think that we could do some targeted outreach, looking at demographics, available properties, and look to recruit niche businesses, you know, specialty foods or businesses that we think could really complement Simsbury. And I think if we had a business recruitment package where we were looking at data, demographics, and it had a compelling narrative, and being able to locate properties and try and go after what's best perhaps for a certain property. And then, you know, when we look at housing, that's all tied to this. You know, housing directly is tied to emergency services, traffic flows, school enrollments, tax base, and each type of housing plays a role in our grand list. You know, we need to look at the pool that we have, but we also need to look at, you know, affordable housing. It affects the tax base differently than a development or a new neighborhood, and apartment buildings affect things differently as well. So, you know, I think we really need to look at all the moving pieces when we look at that, and really be strategic about how and when we develop. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up public safety, being here as the public safety chair, because I think oftentimes public safety gets ignored when it comes to economic development, but it's very important to make sure that, you know, for one, a safe town attracts residents, it attracts businesses, but also, you know, we need to make sure the infrastructure is there as well. You know, we've talked before about cell coverage and different safety aspects. So we just always need to make sure that that is incorporated in the conversation and the topic. So, you know, I think in closing, Simsbury doesn't really need to reinvent itself. We have a strong identity. We have an engaged community. We have a beautiful, livable town. But I do think that we're at a crossroads. We have opportunities and we have challenges. And where are we looking to go with that? And what do we? You know, with a real long-term vision, I think we can help steer where we can, where Simsbury is, in the long term, to make sure that it grows the way it needs to grow, but it's still recognized as the Simsbury that is, that has all the things that a lot of people are here for. You know, the great schools, the open space, the charm, the walkability. So I think that, you know, we want to maintain all of that from the character. So, you know, back to just to kind of end, we do need, the development does have to be strategic. You know, we really need to look at quality and intentionality over quantity. And we need to align our actions, across departments, pertinent groups, and just pursue economic development that reflects who we are and where we want to go. And so with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I'm happy to answer any sort of questions.
Any questions? I think you covered a lot there.
Heather, what would be your number one priority for the town? You sort of, we're at a crossroads, but what dictates which way we go, or what's your primary focus?
So I actually think what dictates where we go is having a clear vision for the town. I think that oftentimes we work in a lot of silos, and we make a decision, whether it's a development or you know, it can be all sorts of things, but we make different siloed decisions, and you don't necessarily look at how it's going to impact the town in years to come. And without a vision of really what we want the town to look like in years to come, I get concerned, could it look unrecognizable? I think we need to, and that comes down to what sort of businesses do we want here? How much housing do we want and where? And how, you know, just and overall how we want this town to look. And I think that would also help with a vision to help start to grow the families, and take some of the tax burden off if everyone's sort of aligned. And, you know, there are a lot of moving pieces in that long-term vision, but we definitely need to have one.
Thanks.
So the town did a charrette,
Yes.
so like 10 years ago or so. Guess what's your take on that? You mentioned like the vibrancy of the downtown walkability, like what's your take on that charrette, and whether that's applicable today or may need a refresh? Is that?
I think I think people worked hard on that charrette. It was 10 years ago, probably does need a refresh, but you know, when we look at a whole, so the vision of the town, the charrette's obviously a piece of it. We have a lot of studies in different areas of our town beyond just the economic development piece. And I guess that goes to the greater vision. You know, we have the POCD, we have the parks and we have master plans. We have a lot of different studies, and we have a lot of different data and surveys, but how does it fit into a bigger picture?
Okay, anything else? Keep it rolling. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
You
so
can
much.
stay or you can go. You don't have to stay if you go, but you can stay if you would like.
Nice job.
Thank you, Heather. So next on the agenda is the chair report. And what I'm going to have done, I have various things here, but we started a discussion at the last meeting in regards to the Main Street Partnership data collection task. And we've been going back and forth in individual conversations, but first I was going to have Leland talk and then Kevin talk, because Kevin's our major data analysis, but so is Leland. And if you could just report on some of the things you were just telling me.
Sure,
What you
yeah.
found and who you'd spoken to?
It was actually pretty interesting because I was looking to see this, so it was helpful. Yeah, I mentioned last meeting that I would connect with some of my previous colleagues at Advanced TT to figure out, like, first was around understand what happened with their site selection tool. And then secondarily was to see what else we could learn relevant to this initiative. The first thing I learned is that they actually sunset their site selection tool in part because of it was too difficult to keep and upkeep a database. They just didn't see it as a relevant use of time, actually, ultimately. And secondarily, because they were able to essentially buy a better database that's constantly updated called CoStar, which is what they ultimately invested in. When I had that conversation with my previous colleague, we were actually able to go into their tool and look at Simsbury. Because the question I had is, okay, we're looking at a commercially available space in Simsbury that we potentially work to fill. How much of there actually is there? And this one page sort of reflected what he saw, because actually they had seen only 16 commercial properties available, no Class A. I could go on. But it seemed to me after that conversation, and their take anecdotally was that actually we don't really have that much of a vacancy issue. And the question they asked is we should align as a committee to see what kind of grant list impact we could even have if we filled every single one of these. Because their hunch was like, probably not that much. And so the idea was like, if that ultimately ends up being the case, what I think is the goal of this initiative, this data collection initiative, is to understand, is this a target list that can move the needle for our grant list growth goal? And I don't know that answer, but I was just reeling what I got from them there. And if not, we can maybe strategize accordingly. But yeah, so, and I'll just say like what they showed me in CoStar was reflective of sort of this limited list. They did have a few more properties than you see here, but it did seem like a limited list.
I don't have anything to add to that. I was expecting a much larger data set and having to like dig into like hundreds potentially of properties. This is thin in a good way though. Like I don't think that that's necessarily a bad problem to have. In terms of what we do with this, I agree with Leland. You're probably not going to move the needle doing something with any of these or all of these, but it might still be a worthwhile exercise to dig in and see if these are vacant, truly vacant, and we want to rezone or incent the owner to do something different. We should probably do that because every little bit will ultimately help. So I think it's still worth discussing.
These buildings are literally the signature buildings in town. They are the buildings. There aren't any more. These are them. And they're, some are completely empty and some are mostly empty or partially empty. And so whether they impact the grand list or not, to me, is that part is actually irrelevant. They're empty buildings that offer opportunity for redevelopment or they're empty buildings. They're part of our deal. And so whatever it is, whether it's conversion to residential, whether it's, so we should be concerned about empty buildings. That's all.
So if I could just step in, so part of the reason that we brought this before and we addressed this at the last couple of EDC meetings ago is because it is actually significant. If you look at number one, we're not saying that we are talking about hundreds of buildings. And in fact, when we started talking about this and we talked with Stephen Antonio, he was like, it's gonna be too much. And Rich and I are like, it's like 12 buildings, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still vacancies in other buildings, but you're talking about 2 vacancies in Weldon, in Station Street. Rich and I are picking the buildings that have the majority of vacancies, okay, to start off with. Also, I don't see how it would not impact the grand list, because right now, people are being taxed on vacant buildings. And those buildings are sitting fallow and vacant. And when you bring in people and equipment, and you're bringing in taxable goods, you're bringing in something that will affect the grand list. Also, when you talk about like Simsbury's makeup, much like, and we've referenced Windsor and we've referenced Hartford and some of these other places right now. I mean, they're at over 30% of vacancy. And again, I'm not just talking building. We are specifically targeting office space. Okay, so that right now that's the one we're targeting. When you look at office space, we look at, okay, where's the most vacancy, right? We talk about, then what do? Each piece will be different, right? So this vacant office space is directly near Avon. It's close to Route 44. It has better highway access. It has better traffic counts, has better whatever. Is that better suited for housing, mixed use, et cetera? So that, again, when we talked about this, each piece and each parcel needs to be developed and worked with the property owner separately. So I get what you're saying, but I completely disagree that this will not affect the grand list. And I also think we're looking at, I mean, Rich, you do this for a living, over 30% of vacancy is, or 20-something% of the vacancy will be office space in Simsbury. I'm not,
Well, this is calculable, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
don't we know what the grand list impact for each of these properties would be? Can't
Yeah,
we calculate?
Some of this information is not current.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The-
I hate CoStar, by the way, so.
Let me just address that, because I agree with everything I've heard, but I just want to emphasize something that I think and turn it on its head. The risk here is that as the next reval comes, which is 2 years away, the assessor for the town of Simsbury is necessarily going to lower the value on these buildings based on the vacancy. If we don't do something, Sarah's right, it's going to affect the grant. It's not just in terms of personal property and taxes there, but because we're only 24 months away from a reval. This is killing Boston. I mean, Rich, you and I have talked about this. My kids live in Boston. Property values, residential home values can be flat while commercial drops. And what happens is it's just merely the reval is only a redistribution of the tax burden. And so the storm is coming to our real property owners, to your constituents, Diana and Heather, and all of our community. Rich, this is what you see. The time on market is going to start to come up. You're going to see value shrinking. Commercial property vacancy is a big issue. And I think that's by Sarah.
And you're gonna see a storm turn into a tsunami, because some of the buildings on that list right now, the owner, so some may be foreclosed on, but the owners are looking at tearing them down.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford the
we already know,
taxes.
we're working with
They're
some of the
empty and
owners.
they're just.
Well, I know exactly one that you're talking
Yes.
about. And that's a scary thought, because where one happens, you get, and not only to tell you this, but for the public, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Simsbury, for all of its great qualities, and Heather talked about a lot of them, it's not immune to these national problems that Sarah and Rich, you guys are dealing with.
And one of the things
Right.
to add to you, Mark, is that on one of the buildings that was being considered to be torn down, it was evaluated to turn into condominiums. And when so it was detailed out by a prominent builder,
Careful.
and just a prominent builder.
Yeah.
And when they determined that the flats of what it would take to turn it into a condominium, would people in Simsbury be willing to pay $500,000-$600,000 for a flat? If you pay that in West Hartford, would they pay that in Simsbury? So then the question becomes, well, if we spend that much money, it's going to be an apartment for rent. Simsbury doesn't want apartments for rent. That's the owners of these properties have heard that loud and clear, that Simsbury does not want any more apartment product coming in. So they're not, why fight? So the determination they make now is, if we can't find a quote unquote buyer or user for a particular building, then let's plan to scrap it and take it down.
And then again, like I said, Wendy, and part of what Wendy, and when Wendy and Stephen met with the two chairs, we talked about what could be a good project. I will tell you that, I'd like EDC to be a partner, but we feel that this is critical. Main Street is moving forward on this. This is a critical piece in economic development for us, for the town. Vacant office space. You're going to see, again, you're looking at property owners that are not getting revenues. I mean, it's the grand list, it's the vibrancy, it is the density, it literally hits every single category. And then we talk about, Main Street not only deals with keeping our businesses open, as you said, but we deal with trying to get new businesses. And when they look at the vacancies and they look at the empty spaces, that also hurts us. So, I mean, we're looking at this as a multifaceted issue for economic development for the town of Simsbury. We'd love to have you. That's part of why we asked, but we are planning to move forward on this.
Let me stop you there.
Let me just ask a question. How are we moving forward on it, sir?
So then the next step that we'll do is we'll find another partner to do, and we have some to
What
do
other
the
partner are you
data.
talking about?
I mean, we could hire somebody, I don't know yet, but we are decided that this is something that we
And
need to
what
get in.
specifically would you do?
So again, the first step, and I outlined this, first step would be that we need, again, it's not a huge list, but we need more intricacies. Now we need, okay, this is this building, but only a portion of this is done. This is what is left over. This is the shadow lease tenant. 2, which shows that it's not gonna show it's vacant, but their term is up. They've already moved out of the building. Their lease is up.
There's
They're
no
paying
vacancy.
rent for another 8 months, and then that's gonna hit as vacancies, right? So we want to get a better handle, and that's why I had the spreadsheet of like, we had the columns, like the property, the square footage, et cetera, et cetera. Then the next step will be, based on that information, we'll start to pick a couple of properties that make sense. And then we'll include other commissions, zoning, planning, board of selectmen, others, to say, okay, let's look at a strategy for this one. This one might need to turn residential based on where it is, based on the, again, trying to be careful because we're working with some of the properties, based on the financial situation of this. This property, which we know a couple, it's 60% leased, so maybe the strategy there wouldn't be to develop it residentially, but to really try to drive and increase the tenancy, right? Again, it depends on where the properties are, but for us, vacant, and we could send you 100 articles. It's not cutting edge. We are not alone. Everybody is starting to panic and face this problem. We'd like to kind of start doing this before we're at the spot where the reval's happening, and it's gonna, the money has to be made up somewhere. So again, we don't want to shift back to the residential side. Quality, it makes it unaffordable for the residents, for our seniors, for the workforce housing. So, I mean, it's a bigger problem than just the office space vacancy. It's everything that it affects.
Now, I have a question. I know this problem has been going on for a while because the economy has been the way it is for a while. And it seems to me also on page 4 of your MOU that this is part of the MOU. Seems very similar to me. I could be reading it wrong, but I would think you've been working on this, like you must know some of these answers to these.
We know specifics we can give you, but we can't talk about it in public.
Okay,
I mean,
but I'm just trying to say, I would think based on the MOU and the fact that you know this is your business, you know, I would think you've been working on this to some degree. So, you know, I don't have a problem with, especially Kevin being.
Yeah, I feel like you're hearing that we don't want.
No, I'm just
more
saying.
than we do, but like, I'm hearing that there's a lot that you guys know that you can't tell us, so.
Okay, so part of why, no, it's not that, but part of why we wanted to have a separate meeting that's not public, that's not televised, is we also
Can we
cannot
do that?
disclose things. I think if it's small, we can, right? If it's a
If
it's a
person or two.
person or two.
Okay,
One-on-one.
okay.
Yeah, like.
That's what I was trying to initiate, Kevin, you know,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
and like I said, I'm not, but. So the MOU doesn't specifically deal with the office space vacancies. The MOU, we are working on parcels in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen and the town manager. For example, I gotta be vague again. We're working on northern pieces and things like that. So we are working, but this is not strictly office, Charmaine.
Mhm.
We've been working on pieces that are more mixed use.
Yeah, 'cause
This would be strictly office, so that is why it's a little separate from what we're doing in our MOU.
So if I could just back up for a minute, because I know time is short, I want to kind of focus this, because from my experience in economic development, to me, this is a question of the cart before the horse. If the goal is to attract purchasers, renters, businesses, we need to have tools in the tool chest to do that. So without giving us specifics, when you say you're working with specific folks to do things that we can't necessarily know about, tell me how you would incent someone to come and redevelop that when we haven't given Main Street any authority to negotiate on behalf of the town, right? Your MOU doesn't give you the authority to negotiate.
Agreed. And we're not.
And we don't have the tools that need to work their way through the legislative process. So help me understand.
So right now, we are not doing anything. We don't negotiate and would not negotiate on behalf of the town. We're working
Right.
hand in hand with a property owner.
But most
And the
of
property owner,
come into,
No, no.
if this was a big city, West Hartford, Poughkeepsie, Hartford, any of those, the developer would walk into City Hall and have a conversation with their economic development director or the mayor or whoever. Now, Main Street is contractually our agent for economic development.
Mhm.
If you're having those conversations, I'd like to know about it.
so again,
There
we're
isn't any
having,
confidentiality there
There-
in municipal government. If you are serving as the economic development branch of the town of Simsbury, right? And Rich, you and I have talked about this. So I'd like to know how would we, because this committee, the EDC is charged with understanding what Main Street's doing and what the town manager's office is doing so that they can make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. My question, Sarah, is, are we gonna need any legislative help? And if
So-
we are, when are we gonna tell our colleagues on the Board of Selectmen that we need A, B, and C to happen?
So again, for me, all right. For me, it's not the cart before the horse, okay? For me, it is, while we are working with a couple of property owners because they've contacted us and said, listen, either our building's gonna be foreclosed or we're having trouble making or whatever. How can you help, right? And for some of the strategies, Main Street right now has been trying to fill the office space, but there isn't much out there, okay? For us, it is, again, it's, I think, in a more transparent way, saying, this is the majority of office space vacancies. And this is where we've kind of agreed that we'd like to focus. And then that's where the Board of Selectmen comes in. We say for this space, a lot of these, it's not a big developer, it's the property owner, right? And the property owner is going out and saying, well, I hired someone and they said they could do this possibly. And I hired someone and they did a architectural drawing. And I heard someone, it's not a big developer coming in saying, I'm gonna do blank. So what we're looking at is after that, okay, so we've identified these parcels. Well, maybe this parcel, as we've talked about, maybe we need TIF, maybe we need tax increment financing, okay? And maybe that is also a good reason to say to the Board of Selectmen, listen, we need to institute some legislation and this is why. And it's a reason.
But would we want to do that sooner rather than later, instead of waiting for the property owner to say, hey, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it. It takes months to get the political support, the legislation through, whatever it is, whether it's an abatement or a TI.
Can we do both though?
Well, I mean, I just, like, if you think that there's things we could do legislatively, we
I
can
do.
start on that
I
now.
do.
Even before Main Street identifies things, please let us know, and we can start working through the channels, because that would be done through my office.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, like I said, we could, again, part of what's up for discussion is Main Street can do this, but Main Street wants partners. That's what we've always done to make it effective.
Yeah.
We're gonna need the zoning commission, we're gonna need the planning commission, we're gonna need the planning department. We might need different divisions as we have always done, even before the MOU, but especially with the MOU. We could do things in tangent. We've talked about, do we need some incentives? Absolutely. We talked about Connecticut Main Street Center pushed for the TIF enabling legislation, and lots of towns have used that. Could we do both as a track line? Yes.
Well, if
We
you-
need some
on
things.
that point, I agree with you. If you could give us 2 or 3 recommendations. Don't wait until you've identified, just my advice, was just recommended, so that staff can vet it and look at it, so we get the town attorney to look at it. Maybe we could start, Franklin and I, look at what other towns have done. If you give us those recommendations, then we can start vetting that, even before you get to this owner.
But like I said, I don't think it's a car. I think if we're gonna do them, we're gonna need tools, which does take time, but we're also going to need the very specific information and what we're gonna do with those, because not all of them, will be a TIF. Not all of them will be
Just
this.
to circle up, because we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But the panel here was concerned about doing and I don't want to speak for Charmaine, but concerned about doing the data collection work without an end game to know, well, what are we going to do with the data when we have it? And how are we going to maintain it? You know, like you were making the point that they got out of it altogether, because they didn't see the maintenance of that data to be necessary.
Well, it's still not accurate.
I get it, and we can maintain it, you know, we can fold new things into it, we can do all of that. But I think the problem has been that we don't see what the end game is, you know, like, let's say I've got a list and it's got all the information. We pick up the phone and we say, what to the owner?
No, well, first of all, we don't pick up, we sit down with the owner and we talk about whether or not they're interested, which they will be because their building is vacant. Listen,
Right.
your building is 90% vacant,
But
or it's
what-
gonna be 100% vacant.
But what are you offering?
Yeah, and what's EDC?
Well, sometimes even without the financial incentive, again, EDC is a partner. We're not saying EDC or Main Street, we're saying, and I outlined this,
yeah.
just so you know.
I just don't understand what.
The data collection.
Would be, because Kevin can do data.
Yeah,
gathering.
I think this kind of pivots to
Like-
be more of, okay, using the example of the building is gonna be torn down. They're considering tearing down a building. What can go there instead? What can that be instead? What does the town?
Or
need?
what incentives could be given?
Yeah,
to them
like
to
that-
not- to
that's
not
where-
do
Do
that?
not tear it down.
To not-
That's where there's something
Yeah.
that I think we could have a worthwhile exercise
Yep.
talking about.
Oh, and then And the other thing
Yeah.
and I put you guys in, it's not just, well, you do the grunt work. wait. It's not just you do the data collection and then you're done. If you saw, I put the EDC's role in, it's then when we've determined you're part of the determination, as is the Board of Selectmen, as is the town manager's office, as is the planning department, we come together and say, okay, so here's the data, right? Because we talk about it has to be data driven to start. Here's the data. Based on the data, where do we think the highest likelihood of success might be? And a property owner, by the way, who would be willing to work with us.
Yeah.
Okay, we've identified these two, for example, to start with. Then, based on that and based on the property instructions, what kind of strategies can we bring? And not all of it will be, although some might be, not all of it will be incentive based. Some of it will be, how do we help you? Like we did with the charrette, which wasn't incentive based. Sometimes it could be different zone.
Yep.
It could be a pad, it could be again, a different zone. Okay, you're just professional office, you're a PO, you can't do anything else. How do we go about helping you rezone it to be more flexible? So some of it is, again, it wraps back in, but you don't know what you're gonna do with the parcels until we've identified those parcels.
Yeah, makes sense.
Sarah, question
Yeah.
for you. What would we want to know from the owners of these properties that's not on this spreadsheet? Like the top three things, like I'm just thinking like, what's the next step when we go?
Go for it, because you helped me with the
If you
list.
meet with an owner, and they tell you, then it's wide open.
Okay,
Okay, if we say something, we're breaching the confidence.
so you can't suggest something, but you
But-
could make it very
You
vague,
can
right?
make it
Like,
very
you know,
vague.
what's your
Yeah.
intention with
But,
the
I mean,
building?
some owners might be looking for, infrastructure improvements to help them out.
Yeah.
They could be looking for, another means of access onto a piece of property other than where it currently is. They're looking at a building and saying, geez, what else can I use this building for? And if they are scraping it, then what's the plan to go in place?
It could be
Heather-
zoning requirements.
Yeah,
It could
Heather
look
talked
different.
about having a
Sarah,
vision for Simsbury.
Just curious, but let's say hypothetically, one of these properties made sense to everybody on the team to convert to residential houses. So, yeah.
Okay,
And the
Yeah.
owner wasn't that interested in doing it. It's for sale. Have you ever seen or heard, I know I have, of situations where the municipality purchases the building?
Yes.
Then goes out for RFP for a preferred developer willing to do it?
I'm
Does
doing,
anyone
I'm
have
doing,
any
I'm
experience
doing,
with that besides?
yes.
me,
You.
I'm doing a deal with that, like that right
So
now.
I know that's bigger cities and it's bigger money, but if you want an outcome, that's the best way to get the outcome.
Well, and
And then
again, a very
patience.
good test case, just so you know, and a better way to start that and get the board and the town used to that is we've always talked about the commuter lots, which we're starting again to determine, what are we talking about with the MOU?
Yeah.
We've already initiated with the town manager's office and our state reps discussions, and I've viewed all of the Board of Selectmen on, how do we transfer the commuter lots to the town
We talked
briefly?
about that ADC.
But if you say to the town, that's where we're actually working on that right now.
And that gets walkability.
So, and that could be, I know where you're going and you're kind of where, but that could be a better, like a first way and then move
Well, I only
into.
mention it
Yeah.
here because as you know, and I know you've read it, and thank you for that, that the Simsbury Housing Policy Committee reported out the 9 recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, and one of them was look at town properties, and hidden in there is look at acquiring properties,
Mhm. Yeah.
so yes, it's not something that is typically done in smaller communities, but it could drive the development that you want. To Heather's point, you want strategic development that we want this, not that, right? On private property, it's the owner that tells you what they want, but they bring the application to zoning, and that's what they want. If we want to drive, the strategic development, I think we've got to control the properties.
Yes, sometimes, but I will say the other thing, and Main Street has a track record with doing this. Sometimes the owner doesn't know what they want because they only know it's this option. Look at Tower Ridge, look at
Right.
Andes, look at
Andy's-
we've done this already. So sometimes that'll be the case, but I also think sometimes the old fashioned, like Andy's, it was like he was gonna put in a Dollar Tree. And you guys all know this. And we were at Main Street in the town, it was the town manager at that time. We sat down with them and said, we can't tell you not to. But can you give us a couple months to show you why we could make something more that it would make you more money would be better. And he said, yes. So sometimes it's also about, they have a very narrow something and the town is saying, but listen, we have data that shows that we want this and we supported by this. And then with George's office, the permitting process will move smoothly and, things like that. And we end up getting those results regardless. We've done that. We have a track record of doing that.
So I have a question. So
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Appreciate the answer.
you always, I mean, I don't work in town planning, I work in advertising, but you're aware of these. I mean, to me, this was new information because I'm not in your, I don't work in your space. But you seem to be aware of these companies. Haven't you already talked to these people and have a feel for what they do need? Instead of us recreating the wheel, don't you already know what these clients, or most, to me, these are all clients, they're, don't you kind of know what the problem is already with each one of these, or have an idea? Like, if we're supposed to go and interview these people, you already, like, we're recreating what
We're
you
trying
already
to
know.
educate the Economic Development Commission. That's what we're trying to do.
And the town
And the
and
town.
To accomplish something, so,
And
we all have jobs and we're all volunteers and we're all willing to help, but if the task is, you've already talked to all these companies, you already know what's wrong or what their problems are, or what maybe something about them, because you're very familiar with them, and then we go and interview them when you already know what the problem is.
It's getting a new face and showing that you care.
well, but it's not just that, it's getting a consolidated, and it's similar to what you're talking about. It's, yes, Main Street has working relationships with many. I won't say all, like, there's a couple, there's gonna be some property owners that
It's right property owner.
that's number one. Number two, it's a,
Situation too, not to defend you guys, you do a good job, Rich, but I understand what you said before, that you and your position in those relationships have some level of fiduciary or confidentiality, right? And I get it, it creates a little bit of a conflict, but
well,
would you recommend, Sarah, that we reach out to, assuming we have the bandwidth to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to step on any toes.
so again, let me take Andy's as like an example, right? Or even Tower Ridge. The reason that we moved the needle is, number one, the property owners were willing to talk to Main Street. They had a relationship with Main Street. They had a relationship with the town planner. The town planner and I we do business visitations. We did a lot. So he'd kept coming back to us and say, well, I want to do this. And we would tell him, there's no guarantee. This is the permitting process. It got shot down in Avon, which, I mean, we went through, okay, I don't want to do that. You can do it, but it's not a guarantee. Okay. Then you come back again. We finally got to the point where we're like, listen, now we've read through all you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And if you do that, it adds this and we worked with him. The same thing with Andy's. Again, it is, yes, it's Main Street, and yes, that's part of what we do, but it's also working in conjunction with the town leaders, that we had state reps come, we've had the town manager come, like, that's where we were most effective. I couldn't save EBAD on my own. We had a subcommittee pulled together to keep EBAD and to expand EBAD, and that includes other people. So we could do this and just work with the Board of Selectmen. That's fine too, in the town manager's office. I'm not sure. I mean,
So we would get a list of questions and go to the businesses and interview them and take information down, because we don't have a budget, we don't have abatements, we don't have anything we could offer them other than.
well, right now we're just saying,
Right, no, I mean, there's,
yeah.
So we don't have any authority to do anything. I mean, if all that you need is someone to go in and I don't know if they would meet with us all. I mean, we're Economic Development Commission, so maybe they take the time, but to me, in my world, if somebody doesn't have anything to offer, we're gonna go in and question them, like, would they even give us any time? I mean, you don't know till you know, but it's like, if we're just there to interview them and write
Well,
down
again,
the problems.
Yeah, I'd be willing to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
I
a
think
big
it's like-
wide activity. I
No,
think
yeah, no, I
it's
think
simple.
it's like really-
And I
yeah.
think it's really,
Something would have to be, we'd have to have a set list, not that we can't.
I don't think that we do. I think you're over engineering it. It's like,
you
just
did
put
see
a
the
face on
emails,
it.
right, that I
Yeah.
put of the information. And I think what you do is you make a phone call and say,
Yeah.
listen, I'm calling as a commissioner of the Economic Development Commission. We recognize that there's a lot of office space vacancies. We're looking to find information so that we can better help our property owner.
Right.
I feel like we're here.
Right.
to partner.
See, like,
Right.
type of thing. And if you, by the way, for some of these, if you need, we could preempt by saying, listen, you're gonna get a phone call from Kevin,
Yeah.
who's hopefully gonna ask, if you could help him with the information.
So one of the things that you as a commission should be thinking about, we have the skating center up at the north end of town. They're adding 2 more rinks. So they'll be opening October, November. We were into the design review couple weeks ago, right, George, with the hotel plan. It's a 124 room hotel. Well, what are the other things that should be coming up there? Well, there's possibility of a little village of things, or what's in that village of things. Those are things, start thinking about what's your wish list. And on that skating center, Jesus, what type of businesses are related to that industry, whether it's figure skating, hockey, what type of businesses are they going to attract? And the vision for that started 35 years ago.
Right.
And it's been a long time coming together.
Well,
Sometimes
So
patience.
in that case, would you want one of us to contact that owner?
Absolutely, and share with them.
Okay.
You'd be a perfect one to talk to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam about that, and Kelly.
But again-
Did this vision come about through AP economic students or you?
It wouldn't even be growth if Main Street hadn't stepped in to help with work with the town and the town manager's office in George to make sure that the expansion happened, which we
Richard,
did.
So I'm just trying to define our role a little bit, that's all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you were to give us 5 contacts.
Yep.
Different,
I'd set it up and get you in there.
and give it to our group, and we could split those tasks among us and call and try to get more information. That sounds like a simple thing to me.
Yep.
So we just need from you, if you can do it, give us those, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7.
That's a good idea.
And we would I would call a couple of those and love to know more
And
about.
set up and just have a coffee with them.
So Rich,
And then-
will you do that for us?
Sure.
Okay.
One other thing, if you can, to Matt's point, because we didn't get an answer to this, but what, if you had to pick 3 other categories, like we would like to continue to build out a sheet with more, just let us know what else we can add to.
Yeah, Mark, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to focus on,
What we would do.
Yeah.
have us do something.
But I think there's also a big role for the EDC after the
Right.
fact,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's not
That's
just
right.
like, talking to people
No,
is
it's just,
fun,
it
like that kind of.
starts. No, it starts, but
Yeah.
it gets your mind working.
Right.
And the crazy ideas that you come up with, my business partner Scott says, he told somebody today, he goes, 90% of the things Rich will tell you won't work. But that 10% that does, that's what you're after.
I just think,
I think it's a good idea.
instead of sort of spinning our wheels,
Yeah.
we step in and start doing something. And it seems to me that's what we would do. You give us a list, we could start there. It doesn't mean we end there, but it's a nice place to start.
And you'd be surprised what these people will tell you. You sit with
I
them
would love to
one-on-one,
talk
you'd
to
be
these
surprised what they tell you.
Okay.
You mentioned
Yeah.
that some of the property owners that said conversion to apartments was a no from the town.
Correct.
I guess I'd be interested to know who from town has said that, and I
I
guess.
go to any zoning commission. That's your answer. That's where they're giving it loud and clear.
Every public audience.
It's the lawsuit that's still pending, I
Yep.
think, right? You think? Okay, so, but these guys, they might not be sitting in the room, but they have representatives or they're watching on TV.
Yeah.
And when the commission says, well, we don't want any more apartments, they're listening.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, if you don't want apartments, what do you want? You want townhouses. Okay, townhouses is work. If I tear down the building, do townhouses work here? Want single family homes? Okay, how big can the single family homes be? George came up with a great idea of going to 8,000 square feet lots and possibly making even duplexes out of that. Well, maybe 8,000 square feet is a good start. Maybe it's too big. Maybe it should be smaller than that for the lots to come up with more homes. And you're thinking, oh God, what does that do to our school system? Well, how many bedrooms are there? Who are the people buying that? And how does that all work out? And, on the apartments, the 2-bedroom apartments, last time I saw, if you go just to the apartments and don't count any of that housing product, it's like was 0.14 of a kid per unit.
Yeah.
So 1.4 kids per 10 units in town. So what is the economic benefit of the tax dollars, the revenue coming in versus what the school costs? Is there a net profit there? And then it's up to other services. So you just look at things like that.
I'd also like to see, so we have some consistency, because different people will be going, and obviously conversations can morph, but if it was 5 questions or 6 questions, like what exactly should we, I don't know what to ask, I'm in advertising, but I'd like to have some consistency.
Well, it sounds like you gotta kind of
Right.
let them just kind of.
Let them
Right.
talk.
Yeah, let them.
Make a report back.
Yeah,
to the group.
let them, Tom, I mean, if you go up and talk to Adam and Kelly, you leave there, your head will be spinning, going, oh my God, you
That's
have
why we
great
need to be able to
ideas.
collect
That's what you need to do.
information that we can
Yeah.
assimilate to a group and.
Right.
And it sounds like we think there might actually be grantless growth, because that was like the first goal, because I think we need to kick this back to EDC's mission, which is grantless growth. We have
Yeah,
only one
absolutely.
mission that's clear and it's grantless growth,
Yeah.
and that's very big.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's the redevelopment opportunity mixed with this
There is.
filling might be enough that warrants the conversation. So that's the orientation we can have the conversation. Helpful to me.
Yeah.
Because coming in, it sounded like we were gonna help them sell the leases.
Yeah,
Which the
that's-
question then has to be if that's
Yeah,
worth our
right.
time.
And I think it
And I
kind of
think
also,
now,
yeah,
and it may not be, but I think now, I guess what how the story ended to me, which is helpful, is we're trying to discover whether there's going to be grantless opportunity
Oh, yeah.
based on redevelopment or conversion through conversation with them. And I
Mhm.
think that justifies the
Yep.
action.
and I think it
Yeah.
kind of looks, you're looking at this, I just know some of these properties, look, it depends on the property.
Yeah.
And
Well-
what because I do think, I'm gonna throw this out there, that I think, looking at some of these properties at the top, the days of expecting a large company to come in and fill those spaces that we've lost, and that's a different
Mhm.
time. And I think that's not happening anymore. That's, 10 years ago, maybe that could have still been on the table. You try to market to some big, large company is going to come in and be a big, huge taxpayer in town. Realistically, I have to be honest that I don't, if it happens, that would be fantastic, but it's really, you're throwing a line into dead waters, and, to have that come in is.
I'll
is
give you
really-
a simple example
highly
about
unrealistic.
zoning, okay, 125 Powder Forest Drive. It's a 62,000 square foot building, it's half empty. So somebody looked at it and said, oh, I want to, maybe I can turn this into residential. In I2, right, George, in an I2 zone, you can do residential if you have 10 acres. That particular piece of property has 9 point something
7,
acres.
yeah.
So then, so the zoning opportunity is you go to the zoning commission, you change the regulation, you make an amendment, text change amendment, and say, hey, can we do this with 9 acres?
Yeah.
And you make a text amendment, and then that person looking at that building says, okay, I'll keep the tenants in there. I'll stop building some residential stuff here, but I'll keep the office that I can afford. And then if that tenant ever moved out, then evaluate that building as for a conversion. And that's just a way to think of it. But you have to have that, you have the conversation.
On this list, you don't have any acreage
That's-
associated with,
He got the list.
that's your list, okay?
Yeah.
Yep, we didn't include acreage, we didn't.
Yeah, Simsbury GIS is a great tool.
Yeah.
I go on there all the time and I look around and
And Rich, if the town wanted to incent that conversion from
Yes.
vacant commercial to residential,
Yep.
that's legislatively possible at
Yeah.
the local level.
okay,
As
Yeah.
know, and we would like to work with you guys and, let us know.
Yeah.
Because even at the local level, legislation takes time.
that's right.
3 months, 6 months, sometimes longer, especially if it involves an abatement.
Yep.
So let us know, because we can do the math, we can work it out, we can make a case.
Mhm.
I'd love to have a couple of examples of where, hey, if we did this, they might do that.
Well, I
Yeah.
just gave you one, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So it sounds like this is broken into 2 separate projects now. One is we're gonna break up this list and contact, or someone on our team is gonna contact these folks to understand that there's ways that we can impact the
And-
list.
and if
And
you
then
want,
Main
give-
Street's gonna give us some general ideas that they've seen through their conversations without.
And when you go through your list, give me a call and I'll tell you, oh, you want to talk to so-and-so? I have his number here.
The end goal being.
And I'll-
we're gonna
I'll share
come
this
back with
introduction
ideas
for
that
you.
can Impact the
Yeah.
grants.
Just be like, I had this conversation, here's what he said to me.
Yeah.
And like, it could be
That's
new
it.
information, it
That's
could
it.
be different
Yeah.
information, but maybe it even just
It-
generates excitement.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that Main
You
Street
just-
partnership and economic
Yeah, and
development.
he had an idea.
Well, it's something we haven't done before, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Good job.
A bunch of these are look like they're neighbors to
Yeah.
one another. Is there any interest in doing like a special tax zone for certain districts in town?
I'm not sure that.
Recreation tax.
States, I don't believe state statute allows that. I think we need an enabling statutory authority to do that. I'm not familiar with that in Connecticut, so not at the moment. My answer would be no right now.
Mhm.
To carve out a special, separate tax. Where you have the benefit of already existing law is more on the assessment side and more on the abatement side. So the mill rate is what the mill rate is. And the tax is therefore what it is based on the assessment. There are mechanisms to abate it. And certainly the assessor has some discretion. So,
I mean, think about, special tax districts or TIF districts, which are a tool. They don't benefit the property owner directly. They don't enrich the property owner. That money can be used, that increment is used for infrastructure and aesthetic. It's a road and
Mhm.
landscape, so it doesn't enrich directly the property owner, so.
Right.
Some communities have found innovative ways to, tax is probably the wrong word, but to create a negative financial impact for vacancy in its own right. Washington DC is probably the best example of that, where properties were vacant for a while until essentially what they did, the short story is you're gonna get an assessment, you're gonna get a mill rate for vacancy that's 3 times higher than, right? So when you do that, now nobody's gonna keep their building vacant, right?
If they,
It'll
if
drive
they have a choice,
values down.
if they have a choice.
If they have a choice, right? And so after DC did that, you saw a crane in the air every 5 blocks. And now there's no vacant
Yeah.
buildings,
So-
but.
We
so
can't
there's-
tax differently for vacant land versus built
Connecticut,
building.
you cannot, as far as I know. When I was the tax collector, you couldn't.
Yeah,
I don't know if
it's just a word of caution, just knowing and observing Hartford and, you know, a lot of the property owners there have knocked down their buildings because they'll pay less taxes
Right.
for vacant lots.
Chapter Windsor.
With the promise of
Yeah.
future buildings
Yep.
and which never come decades and decades. So just a word of caution, if we are approaching that in this town, I would much prefer to keep a building than to knock it down and cross our fingers.
What's really interesting, and I'll just end with this from my comment, that is that when I started by saying the redistribution of your grand list from vacant commercial to our residents is my big concern and fear. That's, so our mission is grow the grand list. There's not much we can do to avoid the redistribution of the current grand list, right? That's the current grand list. And all a reval does is redistribute it from one owner to the other, unless we cut on the budget side, right? There's always that opportunity for restructuring and things to lower the money that we're spending. But absent that, maybe our mission ought to be not just to grow the grand list, but to hang on to preserve residential tax rates. Yeah,
I have a quick question. Are any of these historic buildings?
it's a good question.
Are any of these?
No.
historic
Wasn't part of our
buildings
No,
from Half Meadow or
The
anything?
top ones definitely are.
no, they're way on the south end of town. No, it's not like county building or anything.
Anyway, so our next steps are, we'll get a list together and then for any of the EDC members that have time will volunteer, we'll take the files, so you can email me. For those, some people, families might not have time, anybody who has time. I would imagine we'd have to make calls mostly during business hours, so you have to be able to you have to reach these people during business hours, I would think.
7:30 in the morning is a good time to get a lot of these guys.
Maybe
Rich, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. I know
Thank you.
you've got to go to the next meeting.
just like more of a lot of us have not spoken on the town before.
Yeah,
Is there? Well, I'm comfortable doing it, but is there any topics that if the property owner points us in a certain direction that we need to stay away from, right? Like, I wouldn't, I don't think any of us would be making promises and we're like fact finding, but just in case,
It's to nothing.
like, I don't want to bind us into some legal.
and we could come up with like a little bit of a guideline. It's always helpful to have a guideline.
Luke, Georgian, I don't
They
think.
say apartments go by.
I don't think you can get in any trouble there. I think that I would just say looking at the list was certainly okay here, but I stay away from anything that has a current application in front of any of our other boards and commissions. I would just put that out there. So I would not, even if I had the staff, I wouldn't want my staff at the staff level calling to talk to an owner of a property who's got a pending application in front of a board of electeds that
But if
join.
Rich gives us a list of who we want us to talk to,
You gotta make sure that.
we would run it through you because we would.
Or George, but yeah,
Yeah,
just make
yeah,
sure
sure.
they don't have something that's pending and that there's no litigation.
And then I think we should
Then I
have
would
a little bit of a guideline.
So should the list go to you first?
To Charmaine, and then Charmaine would get it to me.
Okay, and then you would approve part of it?
Well, we view ourselves as a resource to the EDC, so you're directing us at this point to just bless this, and I'd have our team look at it, and then I'd get back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
So the list will go to Charmaine.
And they'll get it to us and we'll take a look.
well, Rich might send it to them, they'll send it to me, so.
That's fine.
And again, we're just making sure there's no open.
No, I understand.
applications and
And then
no
anybody
litigation.
on EDC that, we still have more things, but anybody on EDC that has time and wants to volunteer, just email me, because we can't mass email everybody, so just email me individually that, you know, you would have how much ever out time or whatever, you could take one on.
Take short hands now. I mean, I've been.
I enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be that many.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I can't send out mass emails to everybody.
Well, you could send out an email to the whole group.
Yeah.
They can't have a back and forth dialogue after you send the email out,
Frank Martin.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that true? Okay, that's
Find
fine.
out what else.
because that constitutes a meeting.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's good. At least you
Yeah.
can actually send it. Our understanding is that you can.
Yeah, that I can't.
You
send.
can send out something to the entire group.
Oh, good.
You can,
So you.
and then leave it and just say, do not reply all, and that, like, that's it, that's the end of it.
Okay,
Cool.
all right. Then another thing on, since we're still on chair report, believe it or not, we've had a lot of discussion on chair report. This is really from the Board of Selectmen, but we had a person resign in March. I know there's been some applicants and I was just, Steven's not here, so do you know what the status is on getting us our seventh person?
We're prepared to answer that, Franklin.
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen had more than 16 after we issued a call for volunteers on the website. We had more than 16 residents complete volunteer applications. They were vetted by the town clerk, and those that were good were, as in, they were allowed to serve and whatnot. Anybody can serve in any party affiliation for this role. It could be unaffiliated, a Dem or a Republican. I was sent to the personnel subcommittee. They narrowed it down to a list of 4 individuals they want to actually interview. And since I believe they canceled their last meeting, that's why it's been pushed back. It would have already happened, but they're actually scheduled for August 14th for the next personnel subcommittee to interview those members. And from that, they'll get a recommendation of who they want. And then that will tee it up for the next Board of Selectmen meeting. Unfortunately, it will be September.
So,
That person,
so maybe by the time we have in September, we'll have it. Okay.
yes.
The only thing, Stephen,
Or good candidates.
Yeah.
the only thing Stephen sent along for me to mention was that we are reviewing a partnership with the Simsbury Soccer Club that may or may not have economic benefits, and also that there's a solar farm at 149 Road, but also again, not sure how that would have any economic impact. But that is something that is sort of just being discussed currently.
Also, I just wanted to ask our Vice Chair, Matt Arthur, who's on the P O C D, we talked about it a little bit, the kind of things got derailed, so we didn't talk. Do you have anything to report on that or all?
No.
Right. And then also, I was just gonna ask our town manager, Mark Nelson, if you had anything more to report?
No, other than it's been a busy time, surprisingly, so for the summer. We're capital planning for the next 5 years, so we're looking into some heavy duty budgeting, not on the operating side, but on the capital side. And that's why we've got, a growing concern about the grant list that we talked about earlier. Other than that, it's nothing really to report, Chair. We're happy to assist. I just want to thank Franklin for his work on the list, and we didn't have time to show it to you, but we actually Franklin went out and took pictures of all of these properties. So if anybody's interested and where they were for sale or for lease sign, we copied those pictures as well.
Oh, great.
I had just leaned over to him because we were running a little late. I didn't want to take up more time, but we do have those if anybody wants them. We're happy to email them around.
Yeah.
Franklin took maybe 4 or 5 pictures of each property. Very helpful to me because I haven't been in town as long as everyone else. I was there. So the minute I looked at the pictures, I realized. So just that's there as a resource. Anybody wants it, let me know.
Can we email that around?
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. You
I'll do
can.
that tomorrow.
We'll share it to you. And then I just want to thank George for all of his work on the planning side as well. Again, we see ourselves as a resource to the EDC. I know there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot going on, and it's a busy time, but thank you for everything that you're all doing, and we're all playing on the same team, so.
And then one.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, I gotta run. Sorry, I have 7:00. Sorry, thanks.
Thanks.
The chair, final thing on the chair report is that I will be out of the country August 20th, and Matt is gonna be on vacation, so Matt may or may not be able to zoom in. I have like a 7-hour time difference, so I am not going to get on at 2 a.m. And so Leland is going to be, agreed to be the temporary chair of the August 20th meeting.
I also won't be able to attend.
Okay, you're also.
That, I don't know if that throws us out of numbers here.
So we have
I mean, I more than likely can
Zoom
get
in.
on. I just don't know what
You can have a meeting with
status of the background
Yeah, we
noise
need-
will be at
we
that
need
time, so.
So,
I mean, I can always mute
No,
myself at least.
You're missing a member,
Just-
so.
yeah, so we,
So essentially, you could still discuss and have a meeting, you can't vote.
but if you
on
had
anything.
those four, if you had Matt and Kevin and Tom and Leland, you'd have four.
Matt, yes.
Can
Excuse
zoom in.
me,
Yeah, I could be on.
Excuse me, yes.
In the middle of the night in a.
No, of course, but you just need four to vote on stuff. If Matt zooms in, yes.
Okay, good. All right, so then that will work. All right, so that's that. And then also, we'll see what's next on my list here. Oh, we had so next on the list is the minutes of the meeting that,
The firsts, the three firsts.
Skip that for next time,
Okay.
'cause we need, if you don't mind. And
okay, so June 18th minutes have been provided via email in the printed package. Are there any corrections in the minutes? Okay, is there a motion to approve the June 18th minutes?
Make the motion.
Is there
Okay.
second by Mike?
Got it.
Okay, the June 18th minutes are approved,
Pending no objection.
pending no objection. I have to say that. Okay, and then new business. If anybody has any other new business, so in the conversations, I mean, we're having the commission, various commissions come, we have 3. That's why it's also important to have enough people here, because we have 3 other commissions who are also going to come and speak, as Heather just spoke and talk. And then my other idea was to have, because economic development is so important, and we have 3 candidates for selectmen, I was going to recommend that we have not them to give a campaign speech, but to give their ideas. So that's something we would have to make a request of the 3 candidates if they wanted to come and speak at either the September meeting or the October meeting. Except the October meeting is until October 29th, so that might be too late. So that's just a point of discussion of what the members want to do. I think that's a good idea
Yeah,
to hear what they have to say. It's similar to the way Heather gave her board, but she'd come back again and talk as a candidate. So if you want to, you don't have to, but you can if you want to. All right, then Franklin will make that invite to
Sure.
September. I say the September 17th meeting because October is like, it's October 29th and the election's the 4th, so I just think that's too late. That's my own personal opinion. So is that good? So is there any?
Sure, we just recommend if
Okay.
you're gonna do that with the candidates, that the commission consider not having any other agenda items on that meeting, you know. So a little longer, gonna give them 10 minutes.
So-
At the library.
That's it.
That makes sense.
Because we might have some, because you already invited some people to September.
What if the chamber hosted an event at the library? a
Yeah, I
forum,
think that's gonna.
And had the 3 candidates there.
Well, that's a whole different thing. I mean, yes, you could do that. That's a chamber, that becomes a political event. We were
What would
just,
be what would be the purpose, like, this sounds like a political event within the committee, it kind of.
I mean, that's why it's a
Weird
topic
vibe
of
to it.
discussion. I was just trying to, we have 3 important people in town and I wanted to hear their ideas. In not a campaign setting, but just as like the facts or what their exact ideas were in 10 minutes. But here again, it's up
Just
for
seems
discussion.
like it's a part of seeing how they're gonna jive with the board, and then it's part of determining, I don't know, I think it's a slippery slope.
Okay, well, we can, that's why I brought it up for discussion. It was an idea. I mean, I think Ray having an event, it's a great event. I mean, if you want to have one of your chamber events or.
Well, this would be a special one, but I think
Yeah.
it's a unique.
Yeah, that's a
time,
good
so
idea too.
I think it'd be nonpartisan and non-political. It would be political and that
Yeah.
we're gonna express their views, but that's a public forum that people could come.
Then everybody could come, because that makes more sense to me, that it'd be like an event that everybody could be to versus like having candidates propose their ideas to a particular board that.
I was also trying
reports
to,
to the select board.
I was
I don't
also
know.
trying to have it focus on economic development, but that's, obviously if you have your event, you can ask whatever questions you want, but I was trying to focus down on economic development. I mean,
Well,
there's.
right, you know, I've been involved in a few of these over my career. If I like the idea of the chamber doing it. And maybe if the chamber would put out a call to some stakeholders to submit one question, right? If you're the major D, I've got a question from the EDC, I've got a question from the
Mhm.
Historical Society. We've got a question from because when I go to these things, and when I've been on the stage, it's like the questions are coming, all over the place. It'd be nice to just have one question from 4 or 5, I don't know, just a suggestion. I like the idea of the chamber doing it, just in a little structure, a little more structure.
Do you think there'd be a big town turnout for that, like with the library general office be able to handle it?
I really don't know. I mean, it's,
They can handle
Like
anything.
80 people in there easily, 80 to 100 in that room. I could be
Yeah.
I don't think you'd get more than that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'd love to say you get more. than
I
that.
do think you would get more, but I'm not sure. And if you set it up, then you have to turn people away. That wouldn't be good. So
I think that room holds more than 100 people.
Oh, yeah.
I'll talk to
people
Cindy if she
understand
was here. I'll just follow up with her and get a date. We can do it.
Okay, all right, then we'll move that to that. If there's any other business to discuss?
I had
Yeah.
one thing. I went on a tour of Ethel Walker's new dorm with the sustainability committee
Mhm.
hosted that. I think it was back in March, and I talked to the headmaster. I don't know what her title is, but the woman who kind of
Head of school.
Yeah, is that what she's called?
Yeah.
And she expressed a desire to have a stronger connection point, let's say, with the town. And she seems like she has lots of ideas, and
Dr. V
is and I think that she would probably be a good person to invite at some point to the town or to this commission to hear her ideas and ways to partner with her. And I think it kind of brings up like a broader, so I grew up in town and and I went to Simsbury High. And I always was wondering, like, we have these 3 private high schools in town, elite, and a lot of people come in for different events for these towns, but they're completely segregated from, I think, the ecosystem of the normal town. So I would love a way maybe she'd be a good entree into that discussion, like ideas to integrate the town with these private schools that are having to be here. Like, I don't know if we would go like it could be like a first selectmen's cup against Westminster versus Simsbury High School, like exhibition game.
That's a really good idea.
And it could be, I don't know if they're interested in opening up some kind of like storefront where their students can hang out. There used to be a teen center back in like the 90s.
Yeah.
But like
Mhm.
an opportunity for like Westminster to host Ethel Walker and Masters and Simsbury High kids in one place. I don't know if they would be interested in bringing. I see like if I'm at Starbucks, I see kids walking all the way down from Westminster down their hill, walking down just to go to and I'm like, why don't we have a shuttle bringing people down from Westminster to suburban living or whatever it is, like just run something around, and maybe they want to sponsor that or with us. So I think there's a lot we could probably do with those schools if they want to. Sounds like maybe there could be an opportunity there. So
Our Parks and Rec is one example. Our Parks and Rec director and I spoke about, and he's gonna reach out to Westminster about them starting a hockey program and using these Simsbury farms, our ice rink and partnering with them on that. They don't currently have, at least we don't think hockey or any use of ice skating and so forth. And I also took that tour, when it was in construction, we enjoyed my work there. What a wonderful space. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. And it's not enough people, like at least I think the impression I get is from people in town feel like they're closed off from Westminster, Masters, or Ethel Walker, and vice versa.
It's been a long period of that kind of silo.
It's not really, that's really not the case. I worked at Westminster for 40 years, as CFO there, coached the hockey team, coached youth hockey in Simsbury. They rent the rink out to Simsbury forever. The fields they let Simsbury use.
Right in the middle of campus, right?
Yeah.
Right at the top of the hill.
He's talking Westminster though.
Yeah,
not
well,
Buffalo.
Westminster, yeah, this is Westminster, and so the kids walk downtown and they spend a lot of money in town. The faculty have a lot of young kids that go to all the Simsbury schools. They're very connected in that sense. There's like 90 faculty members there. There's probably 50 of those have kids, or 50 kids go to Simsbury schools, preschool, and so it's much more connected than you think. And Westminster is, the headmaster there would be very interested in meeting with us and talking with us. They have a lot of interesting programs up there. Used to be a summer theater.
And maybe it's just.
Well, instead of the three candidates, we have the three.
Yeah,
heads of school.
Or we bring one in October,
be-
one in November. I mean, we can, I mean, we could invite one for each month if we wanted to.
She was.
Or even the dean of the students, or who knows the students,
And yeah, just thought I'd bring it up, like, she was just a ball of energy and ideas, and I said, like, hey, if you wanna become, you have ideas that the town and you can partner with Ethel Walker and various things, then let's get that ball rolling.
And we're very grateful to Westminster for their voluntary pilot. You may obviously be aware of.
Pardon me?
We're very grateful for their voluntary pilot because we make a voluntary contribution.
they do, yeah. Yeah.
So, and a very good relationship with
Yeah.
Westminster.
Frankly, how many, do we have some commissions that have said they're gonna come on the 17th yet? I know you set out another.
On the 17th, I don't believe so. We have 3 for the August 20th meeting.
But you're gonna send out another round of invites.
I sent out yes, for the existing 5, we only got responses. Well, we got actually responses from 4 of them. And then we sent out a follow-up one that also allowed for September 17th, but there wasn't any interest for that. They just all put August 20th. But we can do a new one for the September 17th meeting and hit boards and commissions we haven't asked to board yet.
So we could do that, or we could in October, November, December, we could invite one of each of the schools if that's what EDC would like to mean. I think it's interesting. Instead of raise a business report, because we're gonna have so much reports. I mean, I think it's a good idea. What's everyone feel about that?
Sure. I think it'd be great.
Or do you have association with the schools, Ray?
Are you kidding? You know what my job was?
I know, well, you're in the master's school, but so you would, of course, know everybody. I mean,
Let's start with that.
I was the head of school at the master's. Oh, really? Okay.
and you were at Westminster, so
I think we could get these guys.
you could reach out if you just had a conversation.
I only was on a tour, it was having
Oh,
me talking, I
okay.
don't really know her name, other than she introduced herself and I forgot, that was back in March. So.
Okay, so for November and December.
It wasn't a like, this is definitely gonna happen, it was.
So somehow for October, well, do you want to call Westminster? Ask them,
Yeah, sure.
CDC.
So
Yeah.
we're looking out for the October or November or December meeting.
2 for each or whatever.
Yeah, because the August 20th meeting, we already have aging and disability, fair rent and
Yeah, I'll just we got
conservation.
3 of them
Commission.
come. Yeah,
August 20th is booked. So September 17th is kind of open. We don't have anything.
yeah. So we might get someone from one of the commissions there. So basically, September, October, November, December, we could have 1 per.
Sure.
So whoever wants to reach out can do that, or we can send a letter, however we want to do it. So let's,
So these are Westminster, Ethel Walker, and then another one, Master.
master school
Yep, okay. So that's.
and
the three.
Westminster, because there's 4 of them.
Yep.
Right, I'm not missing.
Westminster, Ethel Walker, Masters, what's the last one?
Just those 3.
It's just 3.
Okay,
I'm like, how am I come up with 4?
okay.
Wilson's very high. Before.
Well, what's the other school that's across from Ethel Walker, but that's comm school, but that's more of a child, like
Yeah.
younger child.
Yeah,
Okay,
not high school, I guess. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the John Roberts' daughter just graduated from Westminster either like last year, or the year before, Supreme Court.
Oh, wow.
Chief of Supreme Court.
2 years ago.
Was it a few years ago? So. And right, I mean, he was obviously coming
Yeah.
in and out of town.
You can speak at one of the future
Yeah,
meetings.
he could come to, yeah,
Following that.
EDC.
So-
I mean, I think it's just a fascinating part of
Yeah.
town that, maybe they are more integrated than I think they are, but I used to talk to people all the time when I was a kid, be like, why aren't we hanging out with anybody from these schools? Like, there's like, like hundreds of like 18-year-olds here that we don't even come in any contact with.
Well, those schools have a lot of day students from
Yeah.
Simsbury.
Yeah, and
Yeah, a lot.
I always knew, I always knew a few people who went to those
Well,
schools.
Westminster's, 3/4 boarding, 1/4 day. So it's
Yeah, I just
100 day
think
student.
it seems like an opportunity to leverage. But I think I'm a big believer in taking, the strengths that we have here and just leveraging them rather than finding like a weakness and trying to build that up. Or we can kind of do all of that, but we have such a great asset here, and let's see if they have any, ideas that we're not thinking of.
Okay. So Ray, you'll reach out to Masters, you'll reach out to Westminster's, and we can reach out to Ethel Law. And see.
Sounds
Great. Okay, so is there any further business? Since there's no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Having no objection.
No objection.
Kevin, you don't object?
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings, and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions, and it's no secret people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth, and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.